It's a design that's withstood the march of time and the demands of musical progress. Acoustically, functionally, and aesthetically, the violin in its current form has survived for more than 4 centuries, a span that's heard its brilliant tones coaxed from the strings by geniuses like Vivaldi, Paganini, and Mozart. But the real beauty of the instrument lies in its accessibility not only to the masters, but to the every person, a link to symphonies past and a muse for masterpieces of the future. In the right hands, with the right touch, the instrument can be used to teach, entertain, soothe, and perhaps most importantly, to inspire.
I think anyone's got the potential to be a great musician.
Potential Jeffrey Smith now realizes in himself. As a 6th grader, the violin captured his imagination, a time when the exuberance of youth had many outlets. But with dedication and support, his energy found its artistic direction.
And it was just one of those things that you try really, really hard, you work on it, you stick to it. My parents were very, very strong in backing me and teaching me to stick to it and not give up.
Persistence that helped forge talent. Yet realizing his calling didn't happen overnight. In fact, it came close to not happening at all. Like any endeavor where time and effort conspire to sap resolve, musical commitments began to stretch Smith too thin, and his violin playing briefly lost its way.
Well, at one time I did drop the violin. I think I was in 3 orchestras at one time in high school, and it really got drawing. It really drew the energy out of me. I was playing the instrument, but wasn't playing the instrument. I wasn't really loving the instrument. And part of the reasons that I teach today is because I found that there's an artist inside of me. There's someone who can enjoy what they do, love what they do, and play from their heart. And that's how I got the name Violin from the Heart, is that I literally play from my heart. You know, with any business, there's tough parts and things, and enough to make you want to quit. But the whole time, I know that God and person above is not going to end up, making it easy. He's going to make it, a challenge. You never give something to someone who doesn't work hard for it.
Yes, ma'am. Is Diana available? This is Gayle Teerman with SCORE. There's a lot of risks that you need to take, and you need to be willing to take that risk. And if you're not, it's pretty difficult then to be successful.
World-renowned business expert Peter Drucker once said, "When you see a successful business, someone once made a courageous decision. To take violin from the heart, from idea to reality, Smith had to make that kind of decision. Every bank he asked for a loan turned him down, so he turned to his own wallet."
I got a passion, I got a dream, how am I going to make it happen? And yes, I got denied a lot. So I had to decide, saying, how bad do I want to do it? How much do I believe in myself? And I believed in myself enough to say, I'm going to use my own credit cards. I don't care, I'm going to put in a hole a little bit for a while, but I'm going to find a way.
Jeff used his credit cards judiciously, I think, to whereby, yes, he used them and maxed them out, but he was using them the same as if it was money that was loaned to him, and was in the position and of the mind to paying those and not just continually running them up.
Numerous swipes that yielded a windfall of capital. Not the usual course of action recommended by experienced former executives, but sometimes bold objectives require a bootstrap approach. With his future at the mercy of the monthly statement, Smith bought 50 violins and rented and refurbished his first studio, hoping a business built on dreams could learn to fly on borrowed wings.
I do know that I'm a strong enough person in what I do, that if I have an idea to do it, I know that there's nothing I can't do.
He's gotten to where he's been now because of a lot of hard work and really believing in what he's done and what he's doing, and that there's a real need out there. This is one of the things that he established, that there's a need, there's a market, and he's gone after that.
A goal pursued with the same zeal it took to climb the second highest peak in the state of Maine, with his violin strapped to his back. A sign that the man and his music could overcome any obstacle, no matter how steep.
I made it to the top on pure determination. I wasn't in the shape to do it. I was definitely not in the shape to make it to the top of the 5,000-foot mountain, but my determination pushed myself to the top, and that's the same thing. So if you ask me today, would I, do I see my business going down? I say no. If I can climb a 5,000-foot mountain with my violin on my back, this is nothing. This is child's play.
Jeff is a very rare individual, and very seldom do you see a person come along that has that enthusiasm and sold on what they're doing like Jeff does. He is really, really sold on what he's doing, and he's not going to fail.
Okay, so let's put our violins up. Okay, let's first make sure we're together. Let's hear to A. Beautiful. D. Now G. Now the only thing I want you to think about when you're playing is I want your elbow to make sure you're changing levels, all right? Don't get lazy. And also make sure your hand is holding the bow nice and tight, because if your bow travels on you, you're going to make this sound. I don't like that sound, do you? Okay, all right. Let's do the G scale. That's what my job is as a teacher, is I feel like I had great teachers along the way, but none of them really got me to love the instrument. And if I can get people to love their instrument off the get-go and really learn to make it a best friend of theirs, that's how they're going to end up learning and do well.
As a musician with 15 years of experience, Smith could have easily been content performing. But music hasn't survived and evolved through the ages because it was kept inside. In the sharing is the cultivating. And future generations of both connoisseurs and virtuosos depend on having their horizons broadened by those willing to enlighten.
Here's a question. When you play at home and you make a mistake like that, do you keep going or do you start over? You keep going, exactly. So what you want to do you like driving on streets that's got a lot of potholes in it? Well, basically, if you make a mistake and keep going, you just left a pothole on the road that you're going to drive over later. Does that make sense?
When we heard at the open house that they were offering violin, she just jumped on it. She thought that would be really cool to do. And the more we worked with Jeff, the more fun we had. He makes it really fun to do. He gives great instruction, but he also is very encouraging. And so we decided that I would start taking it in order to practice with Lauren.
I picked it myself. When Jeff played it outside, it looked so fun. It looked really neat.
Up, down. Freeze. There it is. See the culprit? The culprit right there. It showed you.
He's fun, and he doesn't order you to do it. He, lets you choose whether you want to or not.
All right. Let's do a little sight reading. Something that you haven't played before. Let's see.
This is great. I love it. I'm going to keep playing it.
Good. Wonderful. Good. They learn through me to not give up. You can go through the motions, just in life, you can go through the motions of doing your daily routine and not really being yourself. And the same thing goes with the violin. You have to learn to really listen and close your eyes and sense and feel what the instrument's doing. Oh, I love teaching the older folks.
Age brings many changes. Bodies may slow, minds may cloud, but the spirit stays an energetic force, seeking an outlet through those unafraid to grab for a little gusto. Music can be just such an avenue, and for those with a song in their heart, the when isn't as important as the how.
I played as a child and played for many years then. Then I put it down for 50 years and took it up again this October.
Joining other seniors in a class Smith gears just for them.
If your bow's doing this, if you can do this with your grip, you're not holding it good enough. See, now, see how I'm not, it can't go anywhere? I got full control of this bow when I'm playing on it. Now, it's just like going through Disney World with your grandchild. You grab their hand and you're walking with her. Are you breaking their bones? No, but you're making sure that grandchild of yours is not going to get away.
Oh, Jeff is great, yes. It's quite a challenge, I'm sure, to teach people who are in their 60s and 70s.
I think it's wonderful, and I'm thinking that this is, I came up with this idea saying, young or old, you can learn the violin. You want to keep your mind stimulated. You want to keep it moving, because as soon as you start sitting back in your easy chair and letting the days go by, that's when you start getting older and getting closer to death. And I believe that the violin, learning the violin, it keeps your mind stimulated, keeps your whole body stimulated.
An incentive that requires determination, patience, and fortitude.
You do a scale, you make a mistake. You keep going. No, you start it over, because that mistake can knock you off of the key to know what scale you're in.
We like it, but due to physical inabilities, you know, you do grow a little old, and it gets tougher and tougher, I think, to start a stringed instrument.
Well, I think it's a lot harder. Number one, your fingers don't work as well as they used to. And an adult seems to have a fear of failure more than a preteen or a teenager does. At that point in their life, they're indestructible and can do anything that there is to do. So there is really no fear of failure. I think that's the biggest thing for an adult trying to attempt to do something new is the fear of failure.
And for Irwin, overcoming that fear came about quite unexpectedly. He'd spent years honing his skills as a woodcarver, deciding one day to try a different kind of challenge. He started making a viola and managed to do a pretty good job.
I was really a shot in the dark. I have no background as far as music is concerned.
Which meant that as good as he made the instrument look, he didn't have the ability to hear how good it sounded. So he called in an expert.
Well, it was real important because no matter what I did, having no training at all, I had no idea what the sound should be like. And having somebody with experience, such as Jeff, they could play it and provide to me some feedback as to what the sound really was.
Those are my first months into the business. And I went out there and attacked it, and I says, you know what, I'm going to get people to see what I'm doing. And I jumped on the opportunity to meet with him and see his violin play it and teach him. And now, if you believe it, he is in the new Village Symphony Community Orchestra, and he's out back there trying really, really hard, working really, really hard, and I give him credit every day because he's a hard pusher, and he's very, very, he wants to be perfect.
That encounter, with its simple duet, was the spark that ignited Irwin's musical interest. A small-scale example of Smith's role as both inspiration and ambassador. An influence also seen on a larger scale, as he helped plan and execute a local arts festival, where his troupe of violinists bridged generations and merged to form an orchestra.
We'll have younger kids, the students that play, or more advanced students, playing along with some of my adults that I teach in the villages and in Leesburg.
In addition to refining performance skills, Violin from the Heart also strives to strike chords on a grassroots level, putting people in touch with the building blocks of a sound musical foundation.
I don't ream these holes out until after it's finished because I don't want any of the varnish in the ream holes.
A lot of times you'll find, especially in a novice maker, that this is a little higher, and you have to work very carefully and lay this out.
Yeah, I think it's very helpful for the background to have some idea of how the instrument is made, where the wood comes from, what kind of wood it is, and the varnish that is used. There's a lot of mystique about Stradivarius varnish, and so I think all these aspects are very helpful.
with any instrument, the physicality overlaps into the music itself. Because if you're locking down on the instrument, that's going to stifle the sound. So the more relaxed your body is and the more you're in a proper stance, the better the music's going to sound.
Since the 1940s, the therapeutic powers of music have been used at care facilities all over the world. For Alzheimer's patients, it can be one of the few links left to their past.
People that can't talk sometimes will sing, and they'll sing full songs just as articulate as you and I. We get people to dance. Music just stimulates something in their inner self, and it just brings them out of that abyss that they're in, and it just brings them into a beautiful, lively, joyful world.
For those who have studied the fascinating workings of the human mind, relighting dark pathways is important to improving the quality of life.
Music is the best therapy in the world because it brings back your happy times, your sad times, brings back experiences that you once lived when you were in good shape. And if you're in bad shape, mentally or physically, you concentrate on those things that bother you and hurt you now. So the music takes you back or takes you away from.
Smith may play from the heart, but his music also targets the mind. He's used it to help with anger counseling and has also witnessed the magic when melodies trigger memories.
My music was making a difference. A gentleman in pain was crying, very skinny and very just not in great shape in the bed, and was making a lot of noise. And then you could almost tell in his voice that he was kind of humming along with me. And you'd say, Alzheimer's patients, they don't know what's going on. But I pulled them out of their state. I pulled them out of that not knowing, and they recognized music. They recognized songs that they heard in the past.
There's just not words to describe the phenomenon of music.
To a true performer, joy doesn't come from the performance, but from the performing. Communicating a passion isn't dependent upon appreciation. Classical composer Igor Stravinsky said, "People are taught to have too much respect for music, when they should be taught to love it instead." A lesson that approval need only come from within.
When I first started, I was trained classical. I come out to this area, and when someone says fiddle, I'm like, I don't play the fiddle, I play the violin. And it's funny, now I play the fiddle. I've kind of molded myself around Lake County. I love this county. I love everything about this area.
A love that has seen growth from the seeds he's helped plant and nurture. Classical music has found a receptive new audience with the formation of the Village's Philharmonic, a collection of musicians with varying levels of experience, but a common enthusiasm, an unexpected opportunity to indulge artistic expression.
Never once did this endeavor enter my mind in my earlier retirement years, or even prior to retiring. If someone had told me that I was going to play in a Philharmonic orchestra even 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even 1 year ago, I would have had to maybe snicker a little bit, because that just doesn't seem possible.
The ability to translate composition into articulation isn't reserved for the gifted. Whether it comes from divine intervention or plain hard work, making music is within the grasp of anyone willing to share their essence.
A lot of people, I really feel, they say, I'm not going to be as good as Paganini, Tchaikovsky or whatever. They're saying, if I can't be that good, why play the violin? Everyone can play from their heart. Everyone can play to their potential.
A message to be passed on to future generations. In a world where distractions can obscure the big picture, music can help bring it back into focus. And those who can communicate its relevance will leave a lasting legacy.
Music is the answer to so many things I can't begin to tell you. What it has to do with a person's mood, a person's need.
It's really quite satisfying, and I think music is there is a deep need for music in everybody's life.
Music helps us all, somehow brings us closer together. It brings us closer as a family. It brings us closer as friends. And it brings such a caring and loving spirit in all of us, and it just changes us.
From the legendary to the contemporary, musicians speak a language of notes and tones. Poetry set to cadence. No one style touching everyone, yet every style with the ability to touch someone. And in the playing, as well as the listening, souls are allowed to soar.
The heart is where it's coming from, and the soul is what's going to keep it.